My name is Alex, and this story begins on a night I wish I could forget. I was 15 years old, a quiet boy living with my father in a small apartment on the edge of the city. Life was simple, not perfect, but simple. My father worked long hours as a mechanic, and I went to school, dreaming of becoming an artist one day. We didn't have much, but we had each other, and that was enough. But everything changed on a rainy Thursday night. I remember the sound first, thunder shaking the sky, rain hitting the windows like thousands of tiny stones. I was sitting at my small desk, drawing a picture of my father fixing a car. He always said my drawings made him feel proud, like he was part of something bigger. He wasn't home yet. He was late, later than usual. I kept looking at the clock. 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11. The later it got, the heavier the worry inside my chest became. I tried calling him, but it went straight to voicemail. I told myself he was just busy, maybe helping someone, maybe stuck in traffic because of the storm. But deep inside, a cold feeling was growing. Something didn't feel right. At 11:47 p.m., someone knocked on our door. Hard, sharp, the kind of knock that makes your heart stop. When I opened it, 2 police officers stood there. Their faces told me the truth before their words did. One of them asked if I was Alex Torres. I nodded. My mouth felt dry. My hands felt cold. They said there had been an accident. My father's car had been hit by a truck on the highway. The road was too wet, the truck went out of control, and they tried to save him, but he didn't make it. For a moment I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. It felt like the world had collapsed in 1 second, like someone had taken the ground away from under my feet. My ears were ringing, and everything around me looked blurry. I remember whispering, "No, please, no." But the officers didn't have any more words to give me. When they left, I closed the door slowly and sat on the floor. The apartment felt different, empty, cold, and too quiet. The rain kept falling outside, but inside, it felt like time had stopped. I hugged my knees and cried into my arms until there were no tears left. My father was gone. The only family I had gone in one moment. I walked to his room and sat on his bed. His jacket was still hanging on the chair, his tools still on the table, his coffee mug still next to the sink. Everything looked normal, but he was never coming back. That night, something inside me broke. I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know how to live without him. And I didn't know that this was only the beginning of a long, painful journey that would change me forever.
And the days after my father's death felt like walking through a fog that never lifted. Every morning I woke up hoping it had all been a dream, but the silence in our apartment reminded me it was real. His shoes were still by the door, his jacket still hung on the chair, his smell still floated in the air. But he was gone. People say time heals everything, but in those days, time only made the pain sharper. The first morning, I opened my eyes and expected to hear him making breakfast like he always did, whistling badly, burning toast, laughing at his own mistakes. Instead, there was nothing, just a heavy quiet that pressed down on my chest. Relatives came to visit, but no one stayed long. They brought food, whispered soft words, and avoided looking into my eyes for too long. I could tell they didn't know what to say. What can you say to a boy who has lost everything? School became harder. I sat in class, staring at the board, but hearing nothing. My teachers talked, students laughed, life moved on, but I felt stuck in the moment I opened that door to the police officers. I was there physically, but my mind lived somewhere else completely, somewhere dark and lonely. At lunch, I sat alone. My friends tried to talk to me, but grief had changed me. I wasn't the same Alex they knew. I didn't know how to explain the pain inside me. I didn't know how to talk about the nights when I cried until I fell asleep or the mornings when I didn't want to get out of bed. A week later, everything became worse. A social worker named Mrs. Grant came to our apartment. She was kind, but her words were cold and heavy. She explained that since I had no close relatives able to take care of me, I would need to move into foster care. I knew what that meant. Leaving my home, leaving my father's things, leaving the last pieces of my old life. That night, I sat on the floor of my father's room. I held one of his old shirts close to my face because it still smelled like motor oil and cologne. I didn't want to forget his voice, his laugh, the way he said my name. I felt like every memory was slipping away and I was fighting to hold on. When I packed my bag, I put my drawings inside, especially the one I made the night he died, the one of him fixing a car. I told myself I had to keep drawing because it was the only piece of him I could carry with me. On the morning they came to take me, I took one last look at the apartment. The windows, the couch, the small kitchen, it all felt like a museum of moments we had shared. I whispered goodbye to the place that held my childhood. Walking out of that door was the second hardest thing I had ever done. The first was losing him.
And the day I entered the foster home felt like stepping into a new world, one I didn't choose, one I didn't understand. The house was big, brighter than my old apartment, and full of people I didn't know. But despite all the noise and movement, I felt more alone than ever. Mrs. Parker, the woman who ran the home, greeted me with a warm smile. She talked gently, as if trying not to scare me away. She showed me to a small room at the end of the hallway. The room was clean and simple, a bed, a desk, a small window, but it didn't feel like mine. Nothing in that house belonged to me. Not the furniture, not the smell, not the memories. Everything felt borrowed. 3 other kids lived there. Liam, who was loud and always joking, Sam, who kept to himself, and Mia, the youngest, who asked too many questions. They tried to be friendly, but I wasn't ready to be anyone's friend. My heart was still with my father, in an apartment I would never see again. The first night, I couldn't sleep. The sheets were too cold, the room too quiet, and the voices of the other kids in the hallway reminded me I didn't belong here. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, holding my drawing pad to my chest. It was the only thing that made me feel close to my father. I drew his face again and again because I was terrified of forgetting him. At breakfast the next morning, Liam sat across from me and asked if I was okay. I shrugged. I didn't want to talk. He nodded slowly, as if he understood, and didn't push me. Sam kept his head down the whole time. Mia kept smiling at me like she was waiting for me to smile back. I couldn't. Days passed, each one feeling heavier than the one before. I went to school from the foster home, walked the same halls, sat in the same classrooms, yet everything felt different now. I was the boy whose father had died, the boy who lived with strangers, the boy whose life had changed overnight. People whispered sometimes. Teachers looked at me with sad eyes. I hated it. One afternoon, when I returned from school, I found Mrs. Parker waiting for me in the living room. She handed me a small box wrapped in brown paper. She said it had arrived with my name on it. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was my father's notebook. The police had found it in his car and sent it to me. It was old, the cover worn, the pages filled with his handwriting, notes about cars, reminders, small messages he wrote to himself. But on the last page, there was something I had never seen before. A message to me. It said, "Alex, if life ever takes me away from you, remember this. You are stronger than you think. Keep drawing. Your art is your light. Let it guide you." I pressed the notebook to my chest and cried for the first time since leaving home. Not quiet tears, deep, painful ones that shook my whole body. For the first time in weeks, something inside me softened. For the first time, I felt like maybe, just maybe, I wasn't completely lost.
And the message in my father's notebook changed something deep inside me. It wasn't a magic cure. It didn't erase the pain, but it opened a small window in the darkness, just enough for a little light to come through. And sometimes, a little light is all you need to take the next step. I started drawing again, really drawing. Not just my father's face, not just the memories I was afraid to lose, but new things too. Faces of people at school, the view from the foster home window, the old car parked outside. Every line I drew felt like breathing again after being underwater for too long. One afternoon, Mia walked into my room without knocking. She saw me drawing and gasped loudly. She said, "Wow, you're really good." I didn't know what to say except, "Thanks." She kept asking questions. "Who taught you? Why do you like drawing? Do you draw every day?" At first it was annoying, but then I realized something. She wasn't trying to bother me. She was trying to pull me back into the world. Little by little, I let her. Soon Liam started coming into my room too, pretending he needed help with homework, even though he clearly didn't. Sam began sitting next to me during dinner, saying nothing but letting his presence speak for him. The house still didn't feel like home, but the loneliness wasn't as sharp anymore. It was softening. Weeks turned into months. The weight on my chest didn't crush me like before. I still missed my father every day. I still had nights when I cried into my pillow. But something was different. My life was slowly growing around the pain, not collapsing under it. One day at school, my art teacher announced a citywide drawing contest. The theme was Hope After Darkness. The moment she said the words, I felt something stir in me. I didn't know if I could win, but I knew I had to try. For days I worked on my piece. I drew a boy standing in the rain, holding a small notebook close to his heart, while a beam of light broke through the clouds above him. It wasn't just a drawing. It was my story, my father's message, my way of saying that pain doesn't destroy you. It shapes you. When the results came, my name was on the winner's list. I didn't win first place, or even second. I won third. But to me, it felt like gold. It felt like standing up after falling so hard I thought I'd never rise again. When I came back to the foster home with the certificate in my hands, everyone cheered. Liam lifted me up like I had won the Olympics. Mia made a card that said, "You're a real artist now." Even Sam smiled just a little. That night, I opened my father's notebook again and read his message one more time. Your art is your light. Let it guide you. And for the first time since the night I lost him, I looked at my life, not the past, not the pain, but the future. A future I was finally ready to walk toward. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to support the channel. Hit the like button, leave a comment sharing how you felt, and subscribe so you never miss the next story. Your support helps me create more emotional stories that help you learn English and grow stronger every day. Stay with me, and let's keep learning together.